noticed or not, but there's this thing called an election going on.
Oh my God.
Speak on it, Stan. What's that for?
Let us know, please. Inform us.
And I don't know if anybody's noticed or not, but it seems to have gotten to be a habit that somebody can say the most innocuous little thing that most times just go floating right by, and now that there's an election, it gets blown all out of proportion and gets repeated over and over again, and you get kind of sick of it and so forth.
Yes.
That's been going on for a long time. So here's a little story from around the 1880s in Colorado. That touches on it here and now, but that isn't the big thing. But I think as minor as this is, as it is in this, it kind of shows how minor it is in the rest of society.
The bigger picture.
What conversaciones was, I really did not know. For that, you must remember, it was a powerful spell ago. The camp was new and noisy and only moderate size, so fashionable society was hardly crystallized. There hadn't been no grand events to interest them in, a lynching or an inquest or a jackpot now and then. The women folks is mighty scarce, for women as a rule don't go to Colorado much, except for teaching school and being scarce and chipper, and pretty like as not. The bachelors propose and they're accepted on the spot. Now Sorry Tom was owner of the Galshall Hemlock Mine, the which allowed his better half to dress all fired fine. For Sorry Tom was mighty proud of her, and she of him. She was short and daffy, and he was tall and slim. She was educated, Sorry Tom was not. Yet for her sake, he'd whack up every cuss and sin God. Well, just by way of celebrating matrimonial joys, she thought she'd give a conversazione to the boys. A pure likely lady, and as full of cute ideas and of etiquetous notions as a vice is full of fleas. Three-fingered Hoover kind of kicked and said they might be darned so far as any conversazione was concerned. He'd come to Red House Mountain and tunnel for the ore, and not to go to parties, quite another kind of bore. But being he was candidate for marshal of the camp, I rather had the upper holds and argued with the scamp. Says I, Three-fingered Hoover, can't you see it is your game to go for all the votes you can, call her other same? And the which perceiving, Hoover says, oh, if I must, I'll frequent that conversazione, even if I bust. Yeah, Three-fingered Hoover was a trump. Yeah, fine a man as he has ever caused an inquest or blossomed on a tree. A big broad man, his face bespoke a honest heart within, with a bunch of yellow whiskers appertaining to his chin, and fierce mustache turned up so fur that both his ears was hid, like the picture that you always see on the Life of Captain Kidd. Yeah, his hair was long and wavy, and fine as southbound fleece. Oh, it shone and smelled like Eden when he slicked it down with grease. Yeah, I bet there wasn't anywhere a man all round as fine as was Three-fingered Hoover in that year of 69. Yeah, the conversazione was a notable affair, the bon-ton decollete and regularly being there, and the ranch where Sorry Tom hung out was fitted up immense. The Denver papers called it a palatial residence. There was mountain pines and ferns and flowers a-hanging on the walls, and cheers and horsehair sofas was a-sitting in the halls. There was heaps of pictures of folks that lived down east, such as poets and professors, and last but not the least was a chromo of old Fremont. Yeah, we like that best, you bet. There's lots of us old miners that is voting for him yet. When Sorry Tom received the gang politely at the door, he said that carriage would be allowed upon the second floor, and then he asked us, would we like a drop of ODB? Conniving at his meaning, we responded promptly, oui. See, it's a conversazione is a thing where people speak the language in the which they are particularly weak. I see, says Sorry Tom, you grasp what that air lingo means. You bet your boots, says Hoover, I've lived in New Orleans. Though I ain't no Frenchie nor kin unto the same, I can parlez-vous and get there too, like he liked, tout de même. As speaking French was not my forte, not even oubli-pou. I stuck to cures just played by them as did not parlez-vous. And being how that poker was my most proficient game, I ponied up for 20 blues and set into the same. Three-fingered Hoover stayed behind and parlez-vous so well that all the creamy dilly cream allowed he was the belle. The other candidate for Marshall didn't have a show for while three-fingered Hoover parleyed, as they said, très beau. Bill Goslin didn't know enough for French to get along. I reckon that he had what folks might call a mauvais temps. From Denver, they'd freighted up a real peony fort of the warty leg and pearl round the keys and kiver sort. And later in the evening, Professor Verdi Blah performed on that piano with considerable eclat. Such touching high-tone opera as one is apt to hear, when he rounds up down to Denver at the Amy Abbott show. And Barber Jim, a talented but ornery galoot, performed a alligator, Connie Maury, on the flute, till we saw upstairs, indulging in a quiet game, conveyed to Barber Jim our wish to compromise the same. The menu that was spread that night was mighty hard to beat. Though somewhat awkward to pronounce, it was not so to eat. There was puddings, pies, and sandwiches, and 40 kinds of sass, and floating Irelands, custards, tarts, and patty beef foie gras, and millions of cove oysters was a-setting round in pans, and other native fruits and things that live out west in cans. But I was all flummoxed when Hoover said he'd choose un petit morceau, s'il vous plaît, de la Sette Charlotte Rouge. I'd known Three-Finger Hoover for 15 years or more. Never heard him speak so light of women folks before. Bill Goslin heard him say it, and of course he spread the news of how Three-Fingered Hoover had insulted Charlotte Rouge at the conversazione down at Sorry Tom's that night. And when they asked me, I allowed that Bill for once was right. Although it broke my heart to see my friend go up the flute, we all opined his treatment of a girl deserved rebuke. Weren't no use for Sorry Tom to nail it for a lie. When it come to sassing women, there was blood in every eye. The boom for Charlotte Rouge slipped on and took the polls by storm. So Three-Fingered Hoover fell a martyr to reform. Yeah, Three-Fingered Hoover said it was a terrible mistake, but when the bolts was in, he cried as if his heart would break. Yeah, we never knew who Charlotte was, but Goslin's brother Dick allowed she was a teacher from the camp on Roaring Creek. That had come to pass some foreign tongue with them of our light as was at the high-tone party down at Sorry Tom's that night. Yeah, we let it pass, this matter of the lady there and then, and never heard nor wanted to of Charlotte Rouge again. The Colorado women folks, as like as not, don't know how we vindicated all their sex of 20 years ago. For in those wondrous 20 years has come a mighty change, and most of them old pioneers have gone across the range, way out into the silver land beyond the peaks of snow, the land of rest and sunshine, where all good miners go. I reckon that they love to look from out the silver haze upon that God's own country, where they spent such happy days, upon the noble cities that have risen since they went, upon the camps and ranches that are prosperous and content. And best of all, upon those hills that reach into the air as if to clasp the loved ones that are waiting over there.
Yeah.